Hi. This is the Compost Queen. I've dubbed her that because Sarah knows a lot about composting and just vibes out super hard on composting for some strange reason.
It's just really cool. It's really cool. It's like the primary way that humans can reconnect themselves to the cycle of nature, because we can compost food waste and we can compost our own human waste, which we're not doing here right now because like start small and build up. But yeah, like we have this idea of waste in society that's really kind of funny. It's like a human created process because we're all really scared of like bacteria and germs, you know, and they're
Whitney's
actually
vibing.
like,
she's like,
yay, Whitney. Yeah, they're actually like really helpful allies in our quest to build a sustainable world. And it's like, it's not really building a sustainable world. It's just like reconnecting to what's already here. And that's the mojo. So we thought we'd just make a little compost magic video because I'm a total geek about this stuff. I almost said shit, which would have been perfect. But but I super am as like quarantine hit and I just went into like compost mode. So
yeah, we're making composting hot tubs, heating, I guess it's going down.
Yeah, I just like started with a pile for food scraps and like, you know, whatever else we had. Yard waste, and then it was like, oh, what else could we create? And then, you know, I'm going down YouTube rabbit holes, and suddenly it's like, oh my god, we could make a hot tub, we could heat a greenhouse, we could...
There's so much heat generated
like,
by it.
Yeah, there's so much stuff you could do, and it's so cool. So I just wanted to, like, just pop in. This is, like, the first time I've been on Facebook in a million and a half
this is a rare treat
because...
for those who, like, Sarah has her awesome reasons for not engaging on...
I know y'all are here, and that's beautiful, and
addictive platforms.
I want people to have a good future. And anyway, that's another video, I guess, my thoughts on Facebook. But right now, let's just talk about compost because it's cool.
Okay.
So, yeah. I mean, if you want to be in a compost video, you can. Don't force
sorry. Yeah, that was a non-consensual video moment.
Well, there will be. Anyway, we drank a bunch of coffee this morning, so I just dumped the grounds into here, but then... just to get the rest of them out, I threw some water in here, and just I'm gonna dump that into there. People, like, I don't know, that from everything I've read and like seen and talked to people about, people get kind of like freaked out about like the chemistry and the like, you know, fuck the parasites and we're gonna pollute the I'm like, well, I need the proper water and carbon and blah, blah, which is all true, but it's like, there's really simple ways to do things, and freaking out's not really a part of the process that needs to happen. So anyway, I suppose you've been talking about our two houses online.
Yeah. So there's two houses that are turning into this community. We built building things.
Yeah, we're building a ton right now. So
there's stuff going on up in the forest, but that's again another video, or just another thing.
Basically, we have one 5-gallon bucket for each house. We built this little gateway in between the houses.
Okay. Look at all that good stuff. Yeah. Into it.
Yes. Welcome to my home. That's Rebecca. There's a video happening. You don't have to be in it, but are you okay with being in it if we accidentally shoot you in it? Great. Yeah.
Okay. Yay.
This is our epic dancer, teacher, Rebecca, Jedi Queen of the cosmos. Love you. Anyway, this is our bucket. So I'm just gonna pick this up right now. I'm gonna do that.
Oh,
see,
what is that?
This is all from the fireplace. I cleaned the fireplace out yesterday. Yeah, there's a whole lot about like people are like, oh my god, you can't put dairy in there, you can't put meat in there, you can't put like it's gonna be this big ass process, and I'm just like, yo, that's just wrong. So there are ways to build a pile where you don't have to turn it, and and you don't have to like censor what you put into it food waste wise. Like I'm not gonna throw like house paint into my compost pile or like used motor oil, but as far as food scraps go, you can compost anything, and it'll decompose. And wow, my outfits defy the weather.
Yes, they do.
It's like almost dangerous, but not quite. Okay, so anywho, so I'm gonna take these giant freaking buckets out.
Okay.
You can see it has snowed, which I guess you would know from Derek's other videos. Pretty stoked. Anyway, so I noticed that it was cooling down a little bit in here since Derek's last video, but yeah, right now it's 130 degrees in this pile. And this thermometer is like a foot long.
Okay.
So that's how it's...
Wait, can we see this on there?
Yeah, of course.
Check this out.
Well, now it's at 120 because I took it out of the soil, or took it out of the pile.
Oh, it's dropping fast.
Yeah, because we're in the air. But anyway, so this is our pile. Obviously, I'm not turning it. It's freaking huge, and it's in an enclosed space, pallets with like wire in the center. So basically, all I have to do is dig a hole in the center of this. I'm gonna have to dig kind of a big one because we have like
Whoa, look at the steam coming out. Can we...
scraps, but like check this out, okay? So here we're in the center of the pile. So notice how like little, like the only big chunks that are in here really are the stuff that we didn't chop up before going in. So like this guy, this is an apple. You know, he was in there probably like a week ago, and this is where he's at. I touch these things because I don't give a fuck. I think this is like...
The apple's a dude?
The coolest. The apple's a dude. Yeah. No, I'm just identifying it that way. But anyway, so here's all this stuff that's decomposing in the middle of this pile. It's really awesome. We've been using straw, and there is a layer of wood chips in here, so those will take a little bit longer to break down. I'm not being as careful about what I use as the carbon material in this pile, mostly because this is an experiment. I'm experimenting, and so I just want to see what happens to what I'm creating if I just put what I have on the pile. And we have a ton of wood chips over here, so anyway, so I've dug out a hole like that. I could probably keep digging, but I'm a little bit lazy right now. Maybe I'll do one more, see what the shovel does. That's a little bit easier. Anyway, so I'm just putting it on the side. It's fine, it doesn't really matter. That part's gonna go back. Like, check that out, motherfucker! Look at that! Look at that shit right there.
Oh, wow, it's just dirt.
Yeah, that's from, what, like, how far down the pile is that? Maybe like a foot and a half? So there's stuff in here that's
Bear
like,
in mind that it's snowing. It is like cold out, and this is like 130 degrees on the inside. That's the heating potential of compost, which to me is like, what can we do with that? We could run a coil through it and heat our whole house's water system off a large compost pile. Like, that's gnarly geothermal heating.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Totally.
whoa.
Totally. That would be super exciting and fun. I'm really stoked about that possibility. Anyway, so that's as far as I'm going to dig out. And then I'm just going to dump. Oh, yeah, you can see, like I was saying, you got all sorts of stuff in here, like chicken carcass, coffee grounds, onions, peanuts, literally.
Why are you
all the
tearing this
scraps.
apart?
Just so that it's
help
in,
it break
like,
down.
bite sizes for my microbes.
You're so kind to your microbes.
I love my microbes. They help me make soil, which is what I need to provide for my family. So, which is everybody here. So yeah. So I just get to take these, dump them into the center.
Is that a bag?
Yeah, it's a compostable bag. So that'll break down.
How long does it take those bags to break down usually?
It's not that long. In a pile this hot, it won't be that long.
What, like weeks or?
Yeah, probably weeks or months. I don't know. I know I put one in here. I mean, they've been going into this pile. I didn't see very many remnants of one when I opened it up, so.
What does the heat of the pile have to do with the speed at which it's breaking things down?
Well, it has a lot of things to do with
Is that just a symptom of healthy microbe life, or?
Yeah, so different heats, different temperatures of the pile are environments for different kinds of microbial life. And depending on how hot the pile is, you're gonna have different microbes in there. Like, for example, people often associate like worms with compost piles. We're not gonna have worms in this pile in the center, but we might have them on the bottom. Damn, that is fucking hot. Like, if I actually, like, I just touched this steaming stuff right here, and
yeah,
it, like, actually almost burned my hand. But yeah, so different temperatures create environments for different kinds of microbial life. Worms are going to be in a cooler section of this pile, and the different thermophilic microbes are going to be those are the dudes that are.
Would you say thermophilic?
Thermophilic.
Thermophilic. So they like heat.
Yeah.
Thermophilia.
Totally. So they're going to be the dudes and dudettes that are getting down in the center of this pile and making it super duper uber hot, and breaking everything down. So basically, after I've done this, I put the fresh stuff in the center and moved everything else to the side. I put everything that I put off to the side to make the hole back to cover the new stuff I just put in. And then obviously, because you can still see particles of food out here, you can still kind of see this stuff. We're gonna put a layer of straw over the top. Now this is like,
why do you do that?
So multiple reasons. One is because this is the part of the alchemical recipe that's carbon, and so you need carbon and nitrogen in a specific ratio to make this all go down. So this is the carbon aspect that is mixing with the nitrogen to create the environment for the heat to be produced. When you have it at a certain heat, like at or above a certain temperature for a certain number of days, that's what kills the bacteria that's actually harmful.
Got it.
And all the parasites and the weed seeds. If you put yard waste with weeds in the compost pile, a lot of people don't do that because they're worried about weeds showing up in their compost in the spring when they plant. But the only reason that would happen is because you're not finessing the pile to be hot enough to kill the seeds that are within it. So
got it. Okay, so there's that's sort of a so that prevents it from getting overgrown and just like
it prevents it kills the.
Because it's so hot.
Yeah, because it's so hot.
Okay.
It kills all the weed seeds.
I can't believe, again, how hot this thing gets.
Yeah, it's super cool.
130, 140,
and that's not even the hottest it can
hotter
get.
Than
that. Piles can get, if you create them in a certain way, which is why you do have to manage these things. That's the other part, is like, if you're a person that's like this is probably the easiest, most hands-off way to make a compost pile that actually works, that actually kills all the bacteria you want to kill, breeds the ones you want to breed, and kills the weed seeds and doesn't smell and blah 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 blah, as opposed to concepts where you turn it and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, what I was going to say is that compost piles can get so hot that they set themselves on fire.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Totally. So
that doesn't surprise me at this point. When Sarah first started talking about this and she's saying these like 150 degrees, I was like, no.
Yeah,
But
piles can get up to like 160 degrees or like 200 degrees. And then like, for example, like piles of wood chips, with, you know, there have been some piles that just like will catch on fire and burn and create an issue because they get so hot. The microbes are like, getting down, you know? Anyway, the other reason for this cover layer is
oh my God, Seth, I love you.
Seth!
Oh my God.
Oh my God, Seth, we miss you.
Oh my God, brother,
so
Seth is in
much.
Mexico. He lives here too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Love you,
Thanks
brother.
for jumping in.
So yeah, the other reason is to cover the smell. That's another reason why people don't like to build compost piles, is because they're like, oh my God, I'm gonna have this pile of rotting stuff next to my house. It's gonna smell, it's gonna attract rodents, blah, blah, blah. Like, you'll notice that this isn't covered. This doesn't have a lid. It's covered by a tarp up here, but that's just so I can control the level of moisture in the pile, because that's another key element of making all the chemistry work properly, for it to all decompose like I want it to. Thanks, Seth. And so yeah, like, because I'm covering this with enough straw is what I'm using right now, but I've used wood chips also. I'm actually not attracting rodents to my pile. I'm not attracting raccoons. I mean, we're in the middle of West Seattle, like, you know, we have, and we're backed up to a green belt. We have like bobcats, we have raccoons, we have coyotes, we have, you know,
And we have
rodents,
you seen them
we have
pillage
mice,
this?
we
Like,
have, yeah, we have all sorts of things
why
here.
aren't they getting in here? I'm actually curious about that too. Like, how come we haven't had more of that?
It's two reasons. One is because of they're not smelling it as much because I'm covering it with enough straw, you know, or whatever kind of carb.
So the straw is a crucial piece of making
The
this
straw is a really
work.
crucial piece.
Yeah.
The other reason is because the place where the food that they would eat resides is in the center of the pile, and it's also the hottest part of the pile. So you're not going to have a small little animal digging its way into something that's 140 degrees. Like, that's not going to be a happy place for that little animal in most cases.
You'd think, really, even in the snow, you'd think they want to like make a nest in there.
You would think they would want to. I don't know. I don't know exactly why they don't, but they're not. It's just a thing that's not.
I mean,
happening.
I'm seeing that here. Like, we have a ton of animals, and you're right. There
Yeah,
hasn't
totally. And like, you know, if we had, if we were doing a composting toilet and we were, you know, we were shitting and peeing in a bucket and throwing sawdust in there, and we just let that sit for a while, like, rodents might get in that, like we saw at Sunrays, you know, like,
Right.
they'll just go and make a home in it. It's kind of funny if it's not used all the time, but we don't have that problem. And yeah, so this doesn't really smell. If it does smell, what I do is I just come over with more of this straw. Hi. Thank you. I come over with more of this straw and I just put more on. That's the thing, is you're like, oh, it's gonna smell. Oh, it's gonna be so difficult. It's like, does it smell? Like, put more straw on it. You don't.
I don't smell anything. We're not smelling a bunch of gross smells. It just smells like fresh air.
Yeah.
So that was my biggest, like, when we decided as a community and Sarah was really like passionate about this composting project, I was like, man, I don't want to be on my deck, which is right here, and smelling a bunch of like weird rotting poopy compost.
Yeah.
Which is what I assumed it would be, and it hasn't been that.
And it was for a time.
There was
a
one
point
day
in
where it was
time
wafting.
where
Yeah,
it was
there was
terrible smelling, and that was because
why was that?
because I wasn't managing it. And like, I hadn't like communicated well enough to everybody in the community of like how to actually do this. And so what was happening was people were just like taking the bag of yard waste and food scraps and just dumping it straight into the pile without covering it up at all, without digging a hole for it. So it just went anaerobic and rancid and smelled really, really bad. And so that's when I like was like, oh wow, this is a problem. I had to come in and like recreate it. Hi, Sean. Oh my God, Sean.
Oh, Sean.
Where do you get the straw? So I get,
yeah, good
because
question.
I'm a total nerd. I went and found a farm store in Kent. It's giant. It's called Reba Ranch, and they sold me because I was driving a Toyota Camry at the time.
Dude.
And I couldn't fit an actually like giant straw bale in my car. I had them sell me compressed bales, which is where they chop up the straw and they just like put it in a machine that packs it into like this by this. We can go over to Derek's house and show you what that looks like in a second. But so I bought a bunch of those and shoved them in my Camry. Before I towed my Camry recently because it's just like a sad.
She removed the back seat and turned it into a Camry truck. It was hilarious, like moving like
I
piles
put a
of
tarp
manure
in the back and like filled it with horse manure, and that's like how dedicated I am to this stuff. I just like I'm super stoked about it, so I just bought a crappy car because I needed one, and then made it a truck and filled it with horse shit. Anyway,
before the truck emerged.
Before my galactic steed entered the scene. She's right down there. Hi, baby. Anyway, so now I just stuck the thermometer back in. You can see I've made the pile a little bit bigger, obviously, because I wanted to cover it up completely with this straw, but I just stuck the thermometer in. And so a foot down from this location that we just created, like literally just now, is 80 degrees.
Okay.
And that's after recreating the pile. So deeper down in the pile, it's still going to be 140. But this will come back up to get to be probably 140 in the next like 24, 48 hours.
If the implications of this to me, as like someone that's kind of like tinkers with energy generation and like geothermal electricity creation, and even there's a methane component to this.
You're an inventor.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
Yeah, many of us are, and I'd love to collaborate with you all. But can you imagine if we had a really dialed system in which it's like a compost container, it's insulated around it, kind of like a fridge or whatever, but it reduces the amount of maintenance, like it's dispensing the appropriate I'm just thinking about the average people in America and beyond that are kind of lazy, or not lazy, but they just have a lot going on in their life.
That's why I think I love
to just make it simple.
I love your idea about creating like technological systems to help do this stuff, and I think maybe like a short-term solution, I don't know, but like is just creating companies that are interested in like being like, hey, I build compost hot tubs, I'll come and build your pile.
Yeah.
I'll come make sure it's at the right temperature.
Just make it simple, right?
Like, I'm just gonna come to your house and do that. I would do that. That sounds fun. Anyway.
Can you imagine a hot tub that just stays hot all the time, the water's circulating through a compost pile? You save how much money is that on electricity in a year, right?
I don't know. It's probably not a ton, but it's like...
You could, why not make a whole water heating system for a house? Because what Sarah's saying is that 18 months you can make a pile. Is that really, we need to
Yeah, that's what the research says.
We need to test this.
Multiple people have tested it, and that's what the research is showing.
That you can sit a pile down,
for 18 months, it'll heat it'll, the water generated within it's going to be it's going to come through 140 degrees. At least, it'll be over 110 in the pile for sure. And then at the end of the 18 months, you get 30 cubic yards of compost for your garden. Basically, that's the idea.
And in the meantime, generate a ton
In the meantime,
of
you
heat.
get to come home and sit in your hot tub that's cozy, and I don't know, all the sun.
Or a water pump
happened
system
and,
inside your house that heats the floors.
Oh, of course, yeah, you could totally do that too.
It could be extended into the entire hot water system of the house.
Or pump it through tubes in your greenhouse and heat your greenhouse and grow plants all year round. You can do all of those things.
That makes me stoked.
I know.
Especially,
I'm so excited that you're stoked.
Well, you're prototyping it.
I know.
You're working out the kinks, and then I think for the next step is as a community of thinkers and doers and people that care about circular economies at the most local level of your own land or your own space that you live in and occupy, instead of using grids that we know are not sustainable, are not doing it right, they're having to, because of the lack of localization, send things across massive grids. The more it's generated on site from the actual things that you use, that's an amazing closed loop system.
Totally. Yeah, and the biggest I mean, you could pretty much use nearly all recycled materials to create the hot tub system with the compost. Like the wood chips you can get for free from an arborist who just was going to take them to the dump anyway.
Chipdrop.com, check it out.
Yeah, that's how we've been
chips
doing it.
from arborists dropped at your house, like a big pile.
Yeah, like
offer
a
them like
huge
$20
pile.
because it's a good, nice thing to do. But they basically need to
Yeah.
dump it because they're bringing it to yard waste dumps anyway.
Which they have to pay for.
Right.
Yeah. So you can use that, you know, you can, if you're like in a farmland area and you see somebody that's like at the end of, you know, baling season and they haven't like been able to sell all their bales, you could like get them from them super cheap to insulate your pile with, like, or might be able to get them for free. Like, the only thing you'd probably really need new is the polyurethane certified drinking water grade tubing to put in the middle of the pile. But other than that, like,
just to clarify what she's saying, because we've been like, you know, in this a lot, the tubing is for water to flow through, so it gets heated. This tube runs through a hot pile of compost. The water becomes heated. You circulate that water into wherever you want hot water.
Yeah. And you want it to be the certified drinking
grade, so it doesn't like start leaching.
So it doesn't leach
yeah.
the polyurethane into your water, because that's actually a really toxic chemical. And
or
we might try it with like copper tubing.
Copper,
if we can
more expensive, but it would, yeah.
But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is
Oh,
this
yeah,
is my
What do we got? What do we
hilarious
got?
example of this. But this is
I'm
the
gonna
size
flip
of a compressed straw bale. So if you have a sedan, like you're trying to do this like urban homesteading thing, and you have a sedan, you don't have a truck, and you still want to get straw, like get a compressed bale. I think I don't know. I can't remember how much they were, but they weren't that expensive.
I love that this chair, I just noticed this is here.
Oh yeah.
That used to be what I composed music on, that rat. Why is it outside? Anyway,
So,
there's our yard.
it's so weird. Anyway,
It's
it's
Thank you
like-
for accepting things where they are.
The thing is, like,
releasing.
well, the fact
it's
is,
coming
like,
together.
there's been so much progress made. Like, I mean, and you can see, like, this is, like, you know, this is rotting right here. It's, like, growing itself out of the top. I don't really care. What's cool about this stuff is that it's, like, wet on the outside, but not in the middle. So I can still use it on my compost pile. It's not a big
Oh, because
deal.
it's compressed.
Yeah, so it's actually
It's
pretty
watertight.
dry in the like an inch and a half in or something. But yeah. Anyway, so there's a lot in the works here, and you know, it's like you have to swim with chaos and or what looks like chaos in order to get the creative outcome that's like really generative and like awesome. But it's, you know, it's not that big of a deal. You're terraforming the soil, you're doing regenerative agriculture, like you're building something.
Yeah.
And I think it's like it's for the betterment of humanity and for all the beings that are here. At least that's what I hope, you know. So just trying to do that the best way that I know how, which means learning a lot, but it takes time to learn. Anyway, so this is just the point of the process where we're at, but compost is a really cool place to start, especially in the wintertime, because you can't really, you know, you can't grow things, you can't really dig too much in frozen soil. Like last Saturday, you know, when the snow all came, I was going to like build my chicken coop, but I couldn't because I can't dig in frozen soil. I need post holes. I couldn't do that. So
These are all, by the way, I don't know if you can see it, but these are swales.
Yeah.
They're called swales.
I dug those out in the
Sarah
summer.
introduced me to that word. I'd never heard it before.
It's a permaculture thing, but
It's just like
Yeah.
a ripple of soil that eventually this hillside will be totally planted. And with that compost has been generating.
yeah, I
Will
don't
we
know
get
if it's
to
going to
use
be
it?
ready
Will it be
for
ready?
the spring. I don't know. But it'll definitely be ready next year.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll take a lot of hard work to get this
See-
ready for this year.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing about, like, if you want to build something, like if you want to build a garden in a short period of time, it takes a lot of labor and money because you have to input a lot of things from the outside that you haven't generated yourself.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if we wanted to have this ready for spring, we'd have to like mulch the whole thing and probably buy a bunch of compost to throw over to plant things in. Wouldn't be impossible, but it would just be like, it'd be more expensive than what we're going to be able to do once we build the hot tub compost system and then have like 30 cubic yards of compost to put all over this yard.
This is the thing. Composting to me seemed like, honestly, I was like, that's cool, but if it's just it's taking me 12 months to 18 months to generate soil. I'm focused on technology and geopolitical, like my mind gets in other places, so I haven't been at the hyper local level. So to me, I'm like, I'd probably go to a place that does composting well and get their compost.
Yeah, totally.
However, what got me stoked personally was the geothermal aspect of composting that I had no fucking idea about. 140 degrees. I know I've said this like a broken record on this video, but yo, people look like this is crazy that we can generate that much. We're talking about how to get energy from like sunlight. Yeah. This thing's generating a ton of heat from microbes. And like, what if we just make mega composts that generate tons of hot water, heat, and like that's super doable. It's not like, oh, it gets up to 80 when it's 40 degrees out. No, it gets up to 140 degrees when it's freaking snowing. I mean, like,
I think it was 28 degrees yesterday and my pile's at 140, so like.
And it's a small pile.
Yeah, it's a little pile.
If it's even bigger, it's more insulated.
It's like a 4-foot square box by like maybe 5 feet deep. Mm-hmm. That's it.
That's energy independence, straight up. I think straight up, like, yeah. I think about the amount of, like, when I actually do the math on the amount of joules of energy at that heat differential inside of, let's say, a 10 by 10 by 10, or, a 10 by 10 by 5 pile. Mm-hmm. That's a ton of energy, and it can either be converted to electricity or to just straight up heating the water that you need in your hot water system in your house, and it sustains. It's not like it's hot for a minute, like wind turbines spin and then they drop. This is just continually hot.
Totally.
One thing we don't know is, like, by running cold water through it and then heating it, do we kind of mess with the pile's
Oh no, we
health?
actually do know that. And it's not messing with the pile's health, it's changing the temperature, because you're running the water through the coils, and then you take that water out of the pile, you pump it through maybe like once a day to refresh the heat in the tub, which takes it out of the pile, which means your pile's probably going to drop from like...
Look at all the snow. Just want to, the snowy world that we're in. Yeah.
Cool. But yeah, the pile's probably going to drop from like, 140 to, I don't know, like 100 degrees or something. In which case, you still have a bunch of hot water, but it needs time to regenerate itself. So it probably in the next like 24 hours, it would just like pop back up to 140 and heat all the water in the coils, so then you pump it again.
This is where, as we perfect the prototype as a system, how do we make it easy to maintain so someone's not having to like do all that? That's what I'm imagining.
No,
is something that's
nobody's
really,
having to do anything.
But you need to pulse the water sometimes.
With a machine.
Yeah, that is on a timer. And it has sensors that knows like, oh, now ease up.
But what I'm saying is that's already been created.
Cool.
You can buy it on Amazon.
Oh.
It's like that easy.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, let's put together the parts list and just share it out as a follow-up. Once we make this, let's just say, here's
I'm super down. Yeah.
Yeah, open source
Absolutely.
this, because we gotta be getting in, just like earth respecting closed loop systems rather than like, I think so many of us, like if you're a friend of mine, there's like a 90% chance that you also feel the call to live in regenerative ways and in reverence for the earth, and to not take more than you need if you can. And if this is an easy system to create and doesn't require massive professional, that's what I want to get is like, I of course go to the nth degree of like basically an appliance that sits in the yard and it just handles it.
The person this is not for is the person that is like just totally like not conscious about this stuff at all, and just would rather like watch Netflix than like handle any of this stuff. Like that kind of person needs a service or a product like you're talking about to come in and just set it up and it runs and there's no problem, and they can call like a repairman if it's broken. But like, for people like us or somebody that's curious and is like down to get in the dirt and like, or whatever, this is already something that's super achievable, and it's not like, it's actually not a massive project. It's only a massive project in terms of labor, but it's not a massive project in terms of complexity. It's actually pretty simple and achievable, and you're creating a luxury item for yourself from just like harvesting heat from a compost pile. That's not, like the majority of the electricity that we have in this region is from the dams and from nuclear power plants. So that, that's not from any of those things. It's just
you might be asking like, how would I get that much like compostable material? Chip drop and other, I'm sure there's other services in other states and if it's not in your country, go make it. But basically contact an arborist. They have tons of wood chips, and you just stick wood chips in a pile. It doesn't smell bad. It will get so hot. I witnessed it. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Doesn't smell. If you don't even want to use like food stuff in that, just get a big pile of like chipped up trees that had been fallen and cleared respectfully by an arborist that does that conservationally. That type of thing. Filling a giant area with that, with a polyurethane tubing that's like dialed, you're gonna have a ton of hot water. That's pretty rad.
Yeah. And this is, it's also like, you need the space to do this, so you're not going to do this in an apartment complex. I get that. That's not for you.
Unless you have an appliance that does it, that's actually dialed for this. That's what I'm wondering about. Like a highly efficient, it's insulated, so it gets up to like 180 degrees. Like a fridge,
super rad.
But size, like a washing machine or a fridge, but it's just churning out tons of heat.
But then you'd also need room for your hot tub in your apartment.
Well, it doesn't have to be a hot tub. It could
Priorities?
be it
Take
could
your
be
couch
your
out.
But what if you just run it into your hot water system?
Yeah, totally.
Just to like supplement the heat water.
Yeah, or you could put it in your basement or whatever.
Yeah, you could run it in through like heating your house into hot water heaters that are sitting at 140 degrees are going to heat your house.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying there could be this composting unit that's super dialed and it cares for itself.
I agree. Somebody out there.
Okay, I'm extrapolating.
Design it. The other thing I would say is like, one of the things that I appreciate about compost is that it makes you think long term. Like we're in an era where it's immediate gratification. We have the attention span of goldfish. Like we there's like one person on this video now. We've been going for 20 minutes. Like nobody has the time to pay attention to this shit.
Right.
So like, when you think about decomposition and compost piles and like the pile that I just showed you, like if we're going to do human manure in that pile, like we let it sit for a year before we used it. That's you thinking into the future and you being like, okay, I'm here. I'm going to regenerate the land that I'm on. Like if I'm a homeowner right now, I'm going to use that like privilege that I have to just regenerate the land. Like why would I not do that? Or like surround myself with people who are down for that ride and do it with them. Like it's one thing to like conceptually understand the whole like 7 generations ahead of you thing. It's another thing to like really interact with it on a physical level. And I feel like composting like really gives you the opportunity to interact with a long-term vision in a physical way in the present moment, because you are creating something that actually takes time to build. And if you think about it in the context of nature, like Mother Nature is doing this all the time, but she takes a fuckload longer to do this job. Because we're innovative and we're humans, we have the resources with our minds to just be able to be like, okay, how do we do this faster and get what we need faster so we can actually be a benefit to Mother Nature. We're not like parasites on the land. We actually want to have more impact on this place, not less. We don't want to decrease our footprint. We want to increase our footprint by regeneratively aiding Mother Earth in thriving.
Right, a positive footprint. Yeah.
Humans aren't parasites. Like, we're just making that choice because we've, jumped into a system that is, like, parasitic, and we don't have to keep doing that. We can, if we can just, like, start doing these things differently, then it's, like, it's step by step. It seems small and it's whatever, but, like, over time, it makes a difference. And, like, the reason why we keep doing things this way that's, like, off is because we're not thinking in long-term process ways, like long-term regenerative outcomes. And so, like, just don't let this whole, like, oh my god, the environment is fucked and we're just gonna, like, die as a human race because we're parasitic and blah 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 and we've already fucked the earth enough and we can't go back. Like, no, that's not true. Like, we need to think of the long-term vision to bring in the vision that all of you here, because I know you follow Derek and Derek's always talking about bringing heaven on earth. Like, bringing it in, actually doing that long to like, don't just be a like fairy about it, like actually bring it into the soil, you know, like actually do it.
Yeah.
And it's stupidly simple. It's stupid. It's so simple. But just make some fucking dirt.
Make some fucking dirt. Let's get in the dirt.
Yes.
Let's work.
We
Let's
need to
take
finish
this.
that song
Yeah,
also.
let's just working in the dirt all day
Anyway,
long.
Make some fucking dirt. It's pretty easy.
It's the earth. It's made of dirt.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for expanding your attention spans to longer than a goldfish span. And I hope you continue to do that and do the things that you can do to regenerate the earth and make it a place for more humans to live and have this like crazy ass spiritual experience of being a human in this reality in a body. Yeah. It's pretty weird, but also great and cool and challenging and awesome. And like, if a soul is choosing that by being born, like, why wouldn't we give it to them in the best way we possibly can? So like, let's do it. Anyway.
Woo! Oh yeah.
Got the dogs going.
The dog's going. All right. Blessings, Soul Fam.
Okay, I gotta go take the buckets.
Yeah.